some of what's happening. We can't account for all of it. And there are a variety of factors at play here. It's not like it's just one thing. We're going to try to look at a number of features that seem to be prevalent in the changes that we see in how people process information based on digital technologies, computational technologies. Some of them are really positive, some of them are a little bit negative, some of them are just, you just don't know what to make of them. The first one that I deal with is the most general concept, and then we'll sort of get into some other processes that contribute. And that's this notion of textual or digital oscillation. And it really is digital oscillation. You could put the word textual in quotations there because I'm only using textual as an example. This oscillation goes on because we're in a digital realm and because of the ways that it works. And in this concept, I'm using text as an example. Oscillation also works with images, sounds, everything that you can digitize. Because we're dealing with ons and offs. It's still that binary on or off switch. Now, this could shift a little bit. This one could change pretty dramatically if we go to a different kind of computing that isn't binary. Okay. It's a little bit interesting. We'll show you some things before we get done about quantum, where you probably are going to have 36 or 40 things going at once. Right? Right now, the only way we can read those is to turn them into binary information. We still turn them back into bits. So we don't know whether we're going to go to, in fact, the same thing with molecular. Doing some molecular computing, but to read it, we end up turning it back into on-off switches. So right now, the only way we know how to compute in the kinds of technologies that we're making for computers is in a binary fashion, in an on-off fashion. And that produces textual oscillation, not just textual, oscillation. So I'm illustrating this first with text, okay? And then we'll look at some other examples. In writing, it was very clear how we dealt with writing for a long time. Okay? We dealt with writing by looking through it. It's time to think about it. At least since the printing press, and we'll go back before that in just a second, but let me state it first. At least since printing, generally speaking, folks have dealt with text by looking through it. You're not focusing on the font. You're not focusing on the shapes. You're focusing on what the author's trying to say. All right? You're looking at something that isn't there. You're trying to make sense out of it, right? So it's unconscious expression. You're thinking in your head, I wonder what he means by that. Oh, I don't think that's true. And you're trying to get at what the author means, and the author isn't really conscious. Okay? So you're looking through. So what bothers text is it isn't correct. It isn't correct grammatically, it isn't correct syntactically, it isn't spelled right. It's not. If there are mistakes, it boggles it up. Likewise with an argument. If you put the phrases together in the wrong kind of order and the right kind of evidence isn't there, you don't get the conclusion that you want. So it's correctness with text. Okay? And generally speaking, we dealt with text based on being able to write. Study it, and then you answer the questions on the test. You'd study it, you'd write a book about it. You'd read it, and then you'd go write something else so that we could do more text. Okay? Now, things have changed a little bit. Okay? So this is after digital. That was before digital. This is after. How do we deal with text now? Well, you each, always, even if you're not in graphic design, but certainly if you are, even if you don't pay any attention to what your fonts are set at, you still are, because it's defaulted. We do self-conscious design with text. You know, especially if you're a web designer, or you're putting up titles on a movie, or you're setting an online newspaper. I'm on battery today, so sorry, my energy saving setting isn't right for being on battery, but my plug So we're more self-conscious about it. Okay? Now that might be better in some ways. It is more process-oriented. It's more focused on how this actually works. You know, when you design a page, you know, and you're thinking about how do I get the eye to go from here over to here, and then maybe to here by passing through here, there's some work in that. Now, typesetters used to know that, printers used to know that, but the public never thought of that. And most folks didn't. And now everybody who goes into Microsoft Word has to think about it a little. They think about which font they want, how big they want it to be, and they got all kinds of choices. And you guys know a lot more about it. A lot more folks know a lot more about it than we used to. Okay? So, and if you think about the screenal environment, you're looking at text because it's blinking, because it's scrolling, because it's drawing your attention with color. So we are looking at text. It's not as unconscious in terms of looking through it anymore. We're looking right at it to see what its effects are. It's been designed that way. Right? And it's been designed that way to look great, to draw attention. It's a decorum issue. It's an effectiveness issue. Right? It's not a correct... I mean, how many emails do you get that are just... ugh? You know, how many tweets do you get that... grammar, what the... You know, how many times you go to a site and there aren't any words, and there's maybe one? Who cares about whether it's, you know, correct? It's not even an issue. Right? And we learn about this stuff in order to make use of it, right? Effectively, as opposed to, or for you know, decoration, or for appropriateness, as opposed to the formal correct nature of it. Now, let me